Hello everyone, and welcome to today's lecture on depth first search, commonly known as DFS. In the previous lecture, we studied breadth first search and learned how it explores nodes level by level. Today, we will discuss another important uninformed search technique, depth first search. Unlike BFS, DFS explores one branch deeply before moving to another branch. This strategy makes DFS memory efficient and very useful in many AI and graph traversal problems. In this lecture, we will understand the working principle of DFS, traversal methods, stack implementation, advantages and limitations. So let us begin by understanding the basic concept of depth-first search. Depth-first search is an uninformed search algorithm that explores nodes by going as deep as possible along one branch before backtracking. Instead of exploring all neighboring nodes first, DFS selects one path and continues deeper until the goal is found or no further expansion is possible. After reaching the deepest point, the algorithm backtracks and explores alternative paths. DFS uses a stack data structure or recursion to manage traversal. Because of this deep exploration strategy, DFS often requires less memory compared to BFS. This method is commonly used in graph traversal, puzzle solving, pathfinding, and artificial intelligence applications. To visualize this more clearly, let us understand DFS using a simple analogy. Imagine exploring a maze. Instead of checking all nearby paths first, you choose one path and keep moving forward until you reach a dead end. Only then do you return and try another path. This is exactly how depth-first search works. DFS explores one branch completely, then backtracks, and explores the next branch. This process continues until all nodes are visited or the goal state is reached. The deep exploration behavior makes DFS suitable for problems where solutions may exist far from the starting point. Now let us look at the important components involved in DFS. Depth-first search mainly relies on three important components. The first is the stack. A stack follows the last in first out principle, meaning the most recently added node is explored first. The second component is the visited set. This prevents revisiting nodes and avoids infinite loops in cyclic graphs. The third component is the graph or tree structure containing nodes and edges. DFS may be implemented in two ways, using an explicit stack, or using recursion. Both approaches follow the same exploration strategy. Now that we understand the components, let us study the working steps of DFS. The DFS algorithm follows a sequence of operations. Step 1. Start from the initial node and push it onto the stack. Step 2. Mark the node as visited. Step 3. Remove the top node from the stack for exploration. Step 4. Visit one unvisited neighboring node. Step 5. Push this neighboring node onto the stack and continue deeper. Step 6. If no unvisited neighbor exists, backtrack to the previous node. This process continues until the goal node is found or the stack becomes empty. The key idea here is continuous deep exploration before switching branches. To understand this more clearly, let us examine a graph example. Here we see the flowchart for depth-first search. The algorithm starts by pushing the source node into the stack. Then, while the stack is not empty, remove the top node, process it, and push its unvisited neighboring nodes onto the stack. The process repeats until all reachable nodes are explored. In recursive DFS, function calls automatically maintain the stack behavior. Although DFS appears simple, it is extremely important in computer science and AI because many advanced algorithms are built upon it. Consider the graph shown on the slide. Suppose node A is the starting node. Initially, the stack contains A. We remove A from stack and visit it. Next, we insert all neighbors of A into the stack. Neighbors of A are B, C and D. The stack now becomes B followed by C followed by D. In DFS, the nodes are marked visited when they are explored. Unlike BFS, where they are marked visited as soon as they are identified. Since the top of the stack contains B, it is removed from the stack and marked as visited. Node B is then explored. Neighbors of B that have not been explored previously are inserted into the stack. Note that the unvisited neighbors of B are inserted at the top of the stack. This means that when the next node is removed from the stack, it will a neighbor of B instead of a neighbor of A. This allows for deep exploration. So the next node that is explored is A neighbor of B. This deep exploration continues until no new node is available. At that point, the algorithm backtracks to the previous node and explores remaining unexplored branches. For example, in the step neighbor of dr A and I both are visited. In this case, the algorithm will backtrack to the node whose neighbor is n. Since n is the goal node, algorithm terminates. The traversal order clearly demonstrates the last in first out behavior of the stack. This is the defining characteristic of DFS. Depth first search offers several important advantages. First, DFS requires comparatively less memory. Second, it is easy to implement using recursion. Third, DFS is effective when the solution lies deep within the search space. DFS is also useful in topological sorting, cycle detection, maze solving, and connectivity analysis. Another advantage is that DFS can quickly reach deeper solutions without exploring unnecessary shallow nodes. Because of these strengths, DFS is widely used in graph-based AI applications. However, DFS is not perfect. Let us now discuss its limitations. One major limitation of DFS is that it does not guarantee the shortest path. The algorithm may explore a very deep branch even when a shorter solution exists elsewhere. Another issue is the possibility of getting trapped in infinite paths if cycles are not handled properly. DFS can also become inefficient when the search depth is extremely large. Additionally, because DFS prioritizes depth over breadth, it may spend significant time exploring irrelevant branches. These limitations show that the choice of search algorithm depends heavily on the problem requirements. Thank you once again, and see you in the next lecture.